Alright, so a couple years ago I made a video and I actually made a really big mistake. Today I'm hoping that I can rectify that. But before we get to that, if you're wondering why this map is so low, it's because my tripod is too short for what I'm doing here. I have to tilt the camera up, which is a really flattering look for me, but whatever. So let's roll with this. Alright, roll intro. So I really want to record standing up, but the problem is I'm too tall for my tripod. So if you are somebody who is building a business, it could be an online business, it could be a brick and mortar business, it could be a consulting business, it could be, you've got some sort of really great tech idea. It really doesn't matter. But if you're building a business and you have really big ideas about what you want to do, then there's a video that I posted probably 2 or 3 years ago. If you watch that video, you're probably really confused. And so I'm hoping that today's video is going to deconfuse you and kind of talk about some of the things I talk about in that video and kind of explain to you why. Honestly, I think I was wrong. Because chances are you really want to make sure that your business, that you're building, that you've got in your brain of what you want to do is completely and totally legally protected. And that's probably why you're watching this video. So I want to make sure that you can do that. So the other video I'm talking about was my video on why you should not start an LLC. And I went back and rewatched that video, and it's actually a really good video, I think. I made a lot of great points, and going back and rewatching it with a fresh set of eyes, it's been a couple years since I watched it, I realized that a lot of things I talk about in that video make a lot of sense for somebody who maybe is trying to start a hobby business, or they're just getting started and they're not quite sure what they want to do with their business, and they don't have any real plans for how they're going to validate their business idea or move forward with their business. And so if you fall into that camp, then chances are the advice I gave in that video about why you should not start an LLC actually might make a lot of sense to you. But if you fall into the camp of someone who really has big ideas for your business and you validated your business idea, and we're going to talk about what that means here in a second, and you have a business plan and maybe you're seeking funding and you have all these grandiose ideas about what you're going to do, and you're pretty confident that you're going to be successful at it because, like I said, you've already validated your business idea, then I really want you to take a step back from that video and hear what I have to say today about why having that proper legal foundation with an LLC or some other type of business entity is really going to be very important for what you're doing. Because if you ignore the advice I'm going to give you today, you really could set yourself up for failure before you even really get started with your business, and nobody wants that business. And the very first reason comes down to what I talked about in that video as the first reason why you should not have an LLC for your business, and that is you don't have any revenue. So my argument back in that video was if you're not generating any revenue and you're not quite sure how you're going to generate revenue, then chances are you probably don't need an LLC, because LLCs are expensive to start. They're not really that expensive. Yeah, they're not. It depends on the state you live in. They cost money. Let's just put it that way. They cost money to start. They're not free. They cost money to maintain, and you need to make sure you follow all the proper corporate formalities. I've talked about that in other videos here on this channel. If you really don't have any real idea for how your business is going to generate revenue, and you don't have any way to validate your business idea, and you can't say with any level of confidence that within the next 6 to 12 months you're going to have revenue from your business, then yeah, maybe you should listen to what I said in that video. But if you have pretty strong ideas about what your business is going to accomplish, if you know how your business is going to make revenue, if you've validated your business idea, and what I mean by validate your business idea is you've gone out to the marketplace and you've said, hey, here's my business idea, would you buy this? And people not only raise their hands, but they say, hey, yeah, how do I get in now? How do I give you my credit card information, or send you a check, or give you some cash, or whatever, and pay for what you're doing before you even get started? If you've done that, then you know that your business is already going to be successful, at least initially. And so from that standpoint, yes, you definitely need to have an LLC or some other business entity. The second reason why I talk about in this other video about why you don't need to have an LLC is that you're not in a high-risk business. And what do I mean by that? Well, typically that means, you are a contractor, or you are a freelancer, or maybe you're like a web designer or graphic designer or something like this, where the business that you're doing is basically one-off services where you're providing a service to somebody else. And short of failing to fulfill on your contractual commitments to that person or that entity, then you really don't have any legal exposure. You're not going to be hiring employees. So you're not going to have any employment related issues or workers' compensation issues. So in all those type of situations, yes, it doesn't make sense for you to necessarily have an LLC. Now, do I still recommend it? Probably, because my beliefs have changed over the years. But if you find yourself into those situations, then chances are, maybe you could get by without having an LLC. On the other hand, the reason why I don't think that's good advice anymore is especially if you are a business that's looking to grow. If you have aspirations to build your business to multiple 6, 7 figures, 8 figures in revenue, you have a path for how you're going to accomplish that, you've validated your business idea, then chances are, number one, you're going to need to start bringing on employees because you can't just do that by yourself. Number two, as you bring on employees and contractors and other people to work with you, the chance of having some sort of liability arise out of that increases. And that could be where you have an employee that messes something up and makes a mistake that causes problems for your business, or it could be that you run into employment related issues. I have a client right now that I'm working with where the employee basically kind of stole their website, and that was a problem. You could have all sorts of issues where things like that pop up and it's something that you need to deal with, and it increases the amount of liability exposure that your business has. And in those type of situations, then yeah, you probably do need to have some sort of business entity that you are working under. And so that's the second reason why I talked about you don't need an LLC, where now I would say, yes, you absolutely do. And then the third reason why I talked about in the last video that you actually do not need to have an LLC is because you don't have any money. Basically, you're judgment proof. What does that mean? It means you don't have any cash. If you don't have money in the bank, if you don't have a house, you probably have a car, but maybe you don't have a car, and maybe you live someplace where you don't need a car, like New York City or another urban area. If you're in a situation where you just don't have much in the way of assets, if you're building a business that's maybe a hobby business, you don't have employees, you don't have assets, then yeah, you might not need an LLC. But, and this is very, very important, if you have a business with a plan for growth, a plan to issue stock or to issue some sort of ownership interest to employees or investors, if you have a business that you can see easily reaching, like I said, multiple 6, 7, 8 figures in revenue within the next, 1, 2, 3, 5 years, then chances are you're going to have some money. And you need to make sure that that money that you receive from your business is going to be protected. And how do you do that? With an LLC. So you need to make sure you have that LLC in place. And I thought it was important to do this video to really talk about, why I think I messed up with that other video and maybe was not clear about who that other video was for. There's a couple other reasons why I think LLCs are really important, even if you fall into the camp of people that are in that other video. And that is, number one, it's easier, much easier and more cost effective to start your LLC now before things get going. If your business does grow and you weren't anticipating it was going to grow like that, and maybe you thought it was just going to be a small little business and then it becomes something bigger than that, then it's helpful to have that LLC in place from the very beginning. Number two, there's tax reasons. If you need to make sure you make that S-Corp election, you can't do that if you don't have an LLC, but you can do that if you do have an LLC. And it makes it easier. One of my big things is you want to make sure that your brand is protected with a trademark, and it makes it a whole lot easier to set that up and not have to worry about assigning your rights back to an LLC later on. That costs money and time and effort, and you don't want to deal with that when you're trying to build your business. So, and then the other thing is just as you're growing, if you've got the LLC in place, it just makes everything easier for your business. If you want to learn more about how to set up your LLC or common mistakes I see people make with their LLCs, I'm going to do another video right here. Thank you so much for watching today, folks. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.